Morning. Very, very frosty and cold in Oregon this morning, but it's going to be a beautiful day. Lots of sunshine. I've spent a lot of time this week trying to help folks out that are still struggling with melting silver or gold in a melting dish with a propane torch, even running MAP. So I've been yakking at one kid back in Pennsylvania, and I told him, I just get you a tin can and some KO wool and make a furnace. So that's what I'm going to do today, is show you how easy it is. Now, a lot of times the silversmiths use like a terracotta flower pot, tapered, maybe the kinds that's 4-inch or 6-inch in diameter at the open end, and most of them have a hole in the end. Really convenient for putting a torch in there. But today we're gonna just use a Walmart brand sliced peaches can. I don't know what size that is. It's about 4 inches in diameter. A few scraps of 1/2-inch KO wool. Another piece to do the side. I'm going to leave the paper label on, and that will be a good sign when we fire this thing up of how hot this metal actually gets. I have one here I did for fun, and this is made out of chicken wire, and I made the top the same way out of chicken wire. It actually is squirrel wire. That's the picture on the package, but she just jumps right up and rock and rolls and melts silver really fast. You'd want to use it in a controlled environment, but it was just fun. It was something to do, but also it can be as simple as this. The weight on this, as compared to like the micro mini furnace, when they're welded up and put together, and with the refractory top, they're pretty heavy. This thing probably don't weigh 6 ounces. So you take your peach can. This one is I can't remember. I used to know the sizes of the can. The ID is about 3 7/8. That's going to make a nice little furnace, very similar to the micro mini. And then what you need to do is, if you're going to use 1/2-inch KO wool for the bottom, it's going to come up a 1/2 inch. I measured up 2 inches off the bottom, so when the KO wool's in there, it will be 1.5 inches up, and I punched a hole through there. Now I put a nice neat little hole just because I own the tools to do it. You could do, if you have to, you could put a block of wood behind that and drive a nail through, and then a punch or something, a drill, anything you've got to get your hole. And then to take it, you can just lay your torch through the side like that and prop it up. But you can buy a little gadget here. This is an electrical fitting. It is a fitting for EMT, which is electrical metallic tubing. You can get them at the hardware stores. And the EMT is just thin wall metal conduit, and it not threadable, and so it's got a set screw on it, and you put your conduit into the back socket like so, and you tighten the set screw, and then this part goes in the box. And this little gadget is called a lock nut, and it just screws right on, and now it's just captive in the box. So it will do the same thing here and make you a nice little torch holder. So I'm going to use the KO wool for the bottom and the top, so let me point the camera down and I'll show you how I make this stuff. It's really simple. Okay, the first thing you want to do is you take your piece of KO wool, take the opened end of the can, set it right on top of it, push down, and give it a turn. It makes a nice impression. You do that for the bottom or top, whichever that turns out to be. And then you do it for the second one. The nice thing about this is just with a pair of kitchen scissors, don't use your wife's chicken scissors. I already have one pot of my wife's out here that, oh my God, she saw it last summer. Needless to say, it's still out here. So you just cut around the line that it makes. I'll do the other one. This one's going to become the top. The fascinating thing about this KO wool is, I mean, it just comes up and glows. But it doesn't allow a lot of the heat to pass through. So like the little squirrel wire furnace, it stayed reasonably calm and cool. So now I'm going to take one of those discs and I'm just going to poke it down in the bottom. They just lay in there nice and flat. Okay, this is the sides. So before I do that, because of the way this is on the Micro Mini, the torch holder is welded on. So I take the lock nut, I put it on the inside, I take the fitting, and screw it on. I'm going to grab my channel locks. I position the screw so it's reasonably pointing straight up. So now we got that in a little torch holder. And then what I do, I set the fitting is sticking right out the back, and then I take and squeeze this into a kind of round. Now it's going to be a little long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this seam about right here, and that just keeps the hot gases. If you put the seam directly across it, it'd give it a point to. So you just kind of line that up. There we go. We got a nice little barrel. That takes the KO wool all the way down to the bottom. Then you want to take a long, thin knife of some type and cut the hole through the KO wool. You'll notice the top just fits on there. Well, I'll be putting an exhaust hole in it here shortly. You can also just use something that's pointed. I'm using the needle nose here. Then I'll take a felt tip pin. And now we've got our wiggle that around to expand the hole out. Now this is what I use to form the tops of the Micro Mini, and then I just mix up the castable refractory. This isn't just laying here. This is a kit that I'm going to start selling, to where if you own a welder, you can do your own and it'll go out to people. But I will make a indentation in the KO wool. Try to do a little better job, just like I did the other. And then you can just take something as simple as a pair of scissors and you start working your way around that. You don't have to go clear through to start with. This is going to be the exhaust port. That one went through. Razor knives work good on KO wool too. You could lay that against a surface, preferably not your wife's dining room table or countertop, and you can cut right through that with. So now we have our what's going to become our top, and I'm ready to reposition the camera, and we'll see what we get, and we'll see how long it takes for the paper to start turning color or smoking. Okay, I'm over around at my hot work area, and you can take a piece of fire brick. I'm sure everybody has 10 or 12 pieces of that laying around. So you can take a piece of fire brick that way. You can take, this is a full brick. You can lay a full brick on there, whatever you've got. I'm going to use the JT539T Burns-O-Matic torch. As you can see, that'll go clear through. That's just the right size. So I position that a ½ inch back inside the KO wool. I need to okay, I get the torch set up there. Okay, now what I do is I will set my torch up, and then I just block it up, so pretty well holds itself in place, and the torch is ready to go when we get this thing going a little bit. Make sure it's off. Turn on the tank. I'm sure we're going to get to a point with this that we're going to want to take the paper off. No sense letting it burn. I'm going to try to get a down angle into the heat chamber there, so hang on. Okay, I've got one of my direct melt crucibles. Put some silver into it. Now I gotta get on some gloves. I'm gonna drop a spacer block into there. Raise the height of the silver a little bit. I'm hoping this will fit. Yeah, it did. A little bit. Okay, I got the silver in there. Don't know what the hell we're gonna get. That's pretty big mold for in there, but that whole one's big enough. I gotta get back just a ways, that little bit coming up on my camera lens there. You can still lay your finger on the back of that can. Not very long, so I'd say it's probably upwards of 170 degrees. Oh, it's starting to turn a little bit of color. That mold is just way too big for the furnace, though. It's restricting the flow too much. I'm gonna turn this off. You see, once I throttle back, now it matches up with the exhaust port a little bit. The thing about furnaces, tremendous amount of its efficiency is on airflow. Well, that's actually turning the torch down is actually giving me a hotter flame, because the flame right now is just barely visible escaping from the top. Okay, according to my wall clock, it is 7:23, so I'm not going to burn up any more video time until this actually does something, so I'll go on standby. Look down inside of the furnace there, you can actually see the mold starting to come up to a kind of a very, very, very dull red, and it's 7:28, so I didn't have the camera off very long, so I'll go back on pause. 31 and 15 seconds the silver is melting. Not too damn bad for a peach can. I've been selling the KO wool, and I sell a strip that'll line a micro mini with a bottom. Then I also have 2 other auctions to where I sell the 8-pound density half-inch for lining a 6x5 furnace I make, and then I also have the 1-inch 8-pound density. Each piece is like 23.5 inches long, so the smallest piece of silver has melted. That great big lump is getting ready to go right now, so that's not too shabby for... Yeah, there it went. It is totally melted. That KO wool is hot. I don't know if I can... Well, let me see if I can just reach in there and get that out of there. You know what, I'm gonna let it cool, but I'll try to get the camera. There you go. That was one of my direct melt molds. The silver is now an ingot, and I want to let that set before I try to get it out, otherwise I could dump that hot silver all over the floor. It's okay if I burn my foot because the skin will grow back, but I don't want to burn a hole through my shoes. Just kidding. Yeah, it's solid. And there she is. How special. So maybe we'll do a... And I mean, that is all it takes to make a furnace. I mean, I've got 1/4-inch KO wool. You could have done that with a soup can if you wanted to. If you just have a little bit to do. And let me take the torch out. Ouch. A little bit toasty, not bad. Get on the gloves. The paper is not burnt on the back side. I would not suggest leaving it on. I'd left it on just to show. So we'll dispose of that. Now we gotta... Boy, now it really looks like a furnace. So anyway, doesn't get much more simple than that. So you know, that just took a couple of minutes. And I guarantee you, if I had one of these melting dishes on a pair of tongs, setting it on a brick here, I have the one chap I'm doing this for, I mean, he went through a whole bottle of MAP gas on the Burns-O-Matic TS8000 and just barely got it to melt, and then when he put the flux on, it set solid. So won't mention any names. It is not easy. I don't know how many links I have sent to the people for the video of so you want to melt silver with a propane torch or not. And believe me, it's mostly or not. You can melt it, you just can't get it hot enough to do anything with. So anyway, that's a peach can furnace. Probably total cost into that a few bucks. The EMT fitting, if you buy just one, it's probably gonna cost you $1.50 or something. It's just a nicety. You could have poked the torch through the hole. Didn't have to have that, but I have them, so why not use them? Just like punching the hole through. I use electrical conduit knockout punch instead of, but you can drive a hole through it. You could put a hole through with a knife or a chisel, or really get fancy and use a drill. It doesn't take a lot of tools. So anyway, that was the peach can furnace. Just a little follow-up. Here's the ingot. And I'll tell you what, that 60.62 grams, that's almost 2 ounces. And not too shabby for a peach can. So anyway, I'm out of here.